Hello and welcome to Foreign Dispatches, where we take you through stories across the globe. I'm Imana Amawe. Well, we begin this week's episode with a surprise bipartisan deal by the U.S. Congress to approve a 2-year budget, which includes a foreign aid line item. My colleague in Washington, D.C., Maria Bird, has more on how some of these funding may be coming to Nigeria.
Just recently, right before the holiday, President Obama signed a bill to get us through for the next 2 years. And so we know that from a budgetary standpoint, it looks like the U.S. is moving forward. But we know the U.S. has a great initiative for foreign aid. And where do we really see foreign aid going? What is the forecast for the next 2 years as far as foreign aid?
I think the forecast for foreign aid is more of the same. We're going to see levels drop a little slightly, but we'll continue to focus on health and education. There's going to be a little bit more on governance and infrastructure, but we'll see a similar level of foreign aid as we have seen over the last 2 years.
And, you know, foreign aid is not only for those who are bordering the U.S., but we're talking about Nigeria, we're talking about countries in Africa as well. Where do we see, especially in Nigeria, where we know there's issues in the north, and we know that a lot of the countries are looking toward being able to assist in that area? Is the U.S. going to put funds toward assisting efforts in the north?
No, absolutely. A lot of U.S. assistance to Nigeria is development assistance, looking at things like health and education. And we know that a lot of the insecurity in the north and elsewhere in Nigeria has a social dimension. And so the hope is that a lot of U.S. assistance will focus on providing those services to people who need it the most. As far as security assistance is concerned, the U.S. is very supportive of Nigerian efforts to address instability that has been problematic in the north since 2009 and probably before. And I think there are three main ways that U.S. assistance is going to focus on the north from a security perspective. And the first is the Security Governance Initiative, which President Obama announced after the last U.S.-Africa summit. And that initiative is going to look at how best to improve the governance of the security sector, how best to think about strategic approaches to the threats that Nigeria faces and other African countries. But U.S. assistance is only part of the picture. It's a small but significant part, but I think the greatest part has to be from within the African countries, Nigeria in particular. As we say, Nigeria has to put its money where its mouth is, and the new Nigerian president, Buhari, has spoken very eloquently about the strategy to address Boko Haram. We'd really like to see him complementing U.S. assistance with a lot of Nigerian political will and efforts.
A lot of people think when they think aid, they think of just money going over to a country like Nigeria. But as you mentioned, strategy is needed. Is the U.S. going to put forward U.S. resources and personnel to being able to assist with some of those strategies?
No, absolutely. Through the Security Governance Assistance, various U.S. departments will be visiting 6 African countries, including Nigeria, to talk through strategic approaches. Also, there is the International Military Educational Program, which focuses on trainings, building capacity and skills. And so those skills could be used by Nigerians to address the problems. There are also opportunities to provide equipment in support of security issues. So there's a wide range of issues and wide range of instruments to support Nigerian initiatives through security assistance and foreign aid.
We know with President Buhari's visit to the U.S. and visiting President Obama, there were talks about additional trade opportunities. Do we foresee the U.S. and Nigeria participating in more trade opportunities as a result as well?
Yeah, one of the things that has escaped a lot of people is that the U.S. is the biggest investor on the African continent, and focusing on Nigeria and a number of other countries. And it's not just in the oil sector, in the non-oil sector as well. A lot of U.S. investment dollars are going in. And this is important Because generally when you have development partners interacting with African countries, it's about aid and poverty reduction, and these countries become aid dependent very quickly. But with the recent upsurge in US investment, the hope is that African countries will be able to utilize this investment and trade their way out of poverty and development. We're seeing it in the growth of the middle class in Nigeria. We're seeing it in the expansion of infrastructure and services. And my hope is that this will continue in the years to come to ensure that countries become self-sustaining, own their own destinies.
Well, we know that the budget is approved for 2 years, and we know foreign aid is in that, but we also know we're up for a new president to come into the White House. Do you foresee it kind of locked in? Will Nigeria see some of the support you've mentioned here in our discussion, even if a new administration was put in place?
Yeah, that's a crystal ball question that's difficult to answer. I think we'll have to wait and see. But if history tells us anything, going back as far back as President Clinton, and we did not see a material change in support from President Clinton to President Bush and President Bush to President Obama. And Africa has remained consistently on the radar in terms of foreign assistance. We'd like to see a lot more going to Africa, but there has been a consistency. And if I were a betting man, I would bet for consistency. But not just consistency, but more targeted assistance that makes countries less dependent and more self-determining.
Well, Dr. Gilpin, thank you so much for the discussion. We know that time will tell, as you have said. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.